Let's do this. All right, so it's been a couple days since it came out, but we have watched the Stranger Things series finale, season 5, episode 8, The Right Side Up, and a lot has been said about these episodes, or this episode, I mean, just the season, and like what I want to do before we like get into the nitty gritty of it all is just like, again, like, I mean, it's different from how it was with volume 2, where you said that like you hadn't seen like anything, you know, like we've seen the memes, we've seen the posts, we've seen like, you know, everything. We've seen it all now,
aka everybody hates it.
Kind of, yeah. But what do you think, series finale of Stranger Things, do you think that they stuck the landing?
I've been thinking about it a lot, and the more I think about it, the more I don't know, because when I first watched it, I was like, I did kind of have, I think, the feeling everybody else was having, like, whoa, that was it. That was like the final battle and everything. And then it's half the episode is epilogue, pretty much. And
or at
don't
least
get me wrong,
the last 25% as I'm looking like right now, which is still a significant amount of the episode. Yeah, the epilogue is 44 minutes as I'm looking at right now.
44 minutes. Yeah,
that is a lot. Yeah.
It's like an hour. Almost. Okay, yeah. It's a third of 3/4, whatever.
It's a lot.
45 minutes of epilogue is a lot. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. It was great. Obviously, there were a few things that I was like, it's all right. But for the most part, I was like, yeah, this is a good ending. I'm so sad Stranger Things ended. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it doesn't feel like the satisfying ending I was waiting for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I get you. Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in the epilogue, and it's like, it's nice to see all the characters graduating and whatever, and most of the characters. It's nice to see like mostly everyone, seemingly.
Mostly everyone.
A lot of caveats.
Most
everyone, but also kind of not everyone, but also kind of
one specific someone who we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, anyways,
it's a good ending, and it is what it is. But I think I was expecting something different. I think I was expecting more of a fight in the end and a little bit more tying up of loose ends, I guess. I mean, they did tie up loose ends, I guess.
Yeah,
they gave most of the characters a happy ending, but I was expecting more of a fight and more of a we won, instead of just like 6-minute fight, we win, oh no, 11 dies, the military just leaves for no reason. What?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I want to get into it a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll get into
it. That was kind of crazy.
I was like, it feels a little bit too convenient.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, season 4, the finale of season 4 was more epic and crazy.
Oh yeah.
Of a final battle, even though, don't get me wrong, the mind flared
giant
tarantula looking thing, it's cool and all.
Yeah, like it was insane.
And let me just say, I'm counted it as a dragon.
That was too close to a dragon.
It doesn't have wings, but like, come on, it's close enough.
It was a giant creature.
Not all dragons have wings, okay?
Yeah, according to us.
It was kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
But not exactly. Like, I wanted a dragon.
It was almost
dragon would have been so awesome, and it was like just kind of barely a dragon.
Yeah. It was like 2 steps away from a dragon.
But I'm still counting it as a dragon because but yeah, it was like over way too quick. And then, I mean, I would have been fine with a super long epilogue like it had, but it felt like they rushed into the epilogue almost, you know?
Yeah.
They were like, all right, we got to end the show so we can like get to the like part where everybody's, you know,
happy,
lives their life out happy, except for like 11.
Yeah.
So I guess in all, I enjoyed it for what it is, but I finished the show wanting more. Which is why I think the idea that they have a secret ninth episode is
Yeah,
so
that
intriguing to so many people, because it's like,
yeah, that
oh
is
my
insane.
gosh, what if they did? Because if they did that, I'd be blown away. I'd be like, okay, Duffer Brothers,
Yeah,
back
that
in
would
it
be
now. But
the most insane move in television history, but it's not
like,
happening.
yeah,
There's no way.
I
The
thought
fact
about
that
it.
people are theorizing about a secret ninth episode, regardless of like, oh, this and that, is like insane to me.
Insanity. Like they never do that. Like there's no way they can start a ninth episode
Yeah, from like,
and
where
have
is
it
this
be
ninth
like,
episode starting?
hold on, wait a minute.
No, no, actually,
Go
there's
back
more.
18
Yeah,
months. Hold on. No, no, no,
yeah,
no.
in the in between, of course, yeah.
It would be really cool, but it's not happening. So,
Yeah, I know.
um
Guys, it's over.
it's
It's
over.
over. We're done.
But
Stranger Things is
you know what I
done.
will say?
I'm
It's not
sorry.
over because it was brought to my attention that I forgot that there
Yeah.
was a spin-off
Plus an animated thing, but that's on
plus
a
an
smaller
animated thing.
scale, but still.
I mean, animated thing, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, it'll be a fun little
But the
thing.
spin-off, I'm intrigued to see like what happens there. But anyways,
Your thoughts condensed. You're on
TLDR
the
on my thoughts.
about sticking the landing.
I think they stuck the landing, but it was not a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
I
the
agree.
judges were like, give him like an 8, maybe like a 7. They stuck the landing, but they almost fell over doing it. And the performance, okay, the performance was decent.
Yeah.
Okay, forget the analogy. I enjoyed the season.
Yeah.
Volume 1 and 2, Volume 3, aka one
The
episode.
finale. Yeah.
I also enjoyed, but I didn't think it was the end that Stranger Things needed.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like for me, they stuck, I think they fairly stuck the landing with the character stuff, but the like, this is the end of the upside down stuff. I feel like it was a little bit of like, it went out with like a whimper than a bang, you know?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was, because if they had this epilogue with a little bit of a better
Final fight
conclusion
and all, yeah.
type thing, I would have been like, oh yeah, this is peak. But
yeah.
It felt, I don't even know if rushed. It feels like
the final fight felt rushed to me.
It feels like the full cut was like an hour long, and then they were like, nah, we got to get under 6 minutes on this one. And they like, just, I don't know.
The final battle was like 2 hours. Like, now we can cut this down.
Like,
yeah, we can break this down.
Cut it down. And then like the kind of open ended, like maybe Elle's alive or maybe she's dead. That was the only like.
That's one of my biggest gripes with the thing, which we can get into in a second. But like for me, okay, the finale I felt like had some really, really high highs, but really like interesting and kind of weird lows, where it was like, okay, like that's interesting. Like, I guess like kind of going through it. I mean, it feels kind of weird to do like a play by play just because like it's over. So it feels like we don't have to like mention things that'll be brought up in a potential 9th episode because it's over. Like, it had some great moments, like Jonathan saving Steve. I loved that. That was awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, Jonathan actually saved Steve. Like, that was
It doesn't even feel like the same episode, though.
What do you mean?
Know what I
like,
mean?
at what
like,
point?
I feel like for me, I think the episode was good, but what threw me off the most was the, like, 30 minutes or so in the middle where I guess the final battle, air quotes, the final battle is, like, supposed to be, I guess.
Like, when they get into the abyss and they're kind of just walking around. Yeah, when they get into the
abyss and they're like walking around.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It felt too easy and too short.
Yeah, which is another thing is that like, okay, so I guess kind of getting into like the general plot of the episode. First of all, I feel like just now that the season's done, and I've said this in our other videos, that like releasing the season in 3 volumes, 3 parts was a mistake, because like every season of Stranger Things has lows, and in my opinion, like some episodes are better than others, but usually the first 4 are like, okay, we're back. And then the 4th episode has the big like punch where it's like, yeah, you know, this is the cool big moment. Like, or whether, you know, like in season 1, episode 4, and to an extent the end of episode 3 deals with like the fake out of like, wait, they found Will's body and Will's body's a fake, and like there's more like hope that he's alive. And then season 2, it's like, you know, Will is possessed, and like that whole thing's kicked off. And then in season 3 it's the sauna test, in season 4 it's Dear Billy, and like in season 5 it's Sorcerer. Like, and then the following episodes, usually episodes like 5 to 7, have cool moments, but they're the kind of like, all right, we're slowing down, things are happening, but it's not as like exciting as the big cool epic action moments, but it still has some good stuff in it. But like releasing the season in 3 parts and having like, just in my opinion, did nothing but highlight the lows of the season, you know, versus having like more stuff to look on as a whole, which is why I feel like the reaction was immediately more negative. And I agree that like regardless there would have been more negative talk about the season anyway. But I feel like releasing it in 3 parts was a huge mistake. But also, I feel like with what happened in the finale, like I totally agree with you. Like once they get into the abyss, they kind of just like walk around and are talking, and like you get good moments from that, like Jonathan and Steve, like again talking to each other. I love the moment where Jonathan saves Steve from falling. But in my opinion, I feel like, and I mentioned this in the volume 2 video, that they could have gotten a lot further than they did in volume 2, and I feel like volume 2 should have ended with Steve falling off of the radio tower and then cut to black. That should have been the ending.
That's kind of what I was meaning by it felt like a different episode.
A different episode.
Like it feels like you could cut off the first hour, maybe like 45 minutes, somewhere in that range.
Steve falls like 21 minutes in. That would have been like a good cut off.
If you
add that on to episode 7.
Made up till there into its own episode, and have this one as the 9th episode, right? And just expanded a little bit more, and maybe had some certain moments that they need to get through, like from the last episode in that in between episode, and then you could have a longer final battle that seemed like it was more
of a struggle and more of a fight.
Yeah, like had more to it than just, oh, we beat the insanely huge Mind Flayer Demogorgon dragon monster thing in like 6 minutes,
with a plan that we came up with on a whim, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, just like, okay, do this, do that, you know, like, yeah, I agree.
Obviously I get like there has to be some easy coincidental, like this would never happen in real life, but it goes well because it's a show, but this is just too much.
Yeah, I honestly, like, okay, when I was watching this for the first time, which by the way, you know, they played the finale in theaters. I kind of wanted to see it in theaters, but at the same time, it felt right to just watch it by myself, like in my room. I was like, I gotta watch this. Like, I started watching this just at home. I gotta watch it at home. But like, it reached a point where like the giant mind flayer comes to life, and I was just like, whatever. Like, I was just like, okay, this is like cool. Like 11 jumping into it, insane. I was like, that's awesome. But it's like, I never really needed Stranger Things to get this big, you know? Like, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, this is insane, but I was like, sure, why not? But like, I do agree that like they could have because like moments like Jonathan and Steve just having this conversation where it's like, oh, we're cool now, kind of like, you know, they're still like, oh, I still don't like you, but like, you know, they kind of made amends. They're like, they're cool with each other. I feel like we should have gotten that in like episode 4. You know, like we should have had Jonathan and Steve like actually being cool with each other earlier in the season, so they could give more attention to like the final fight rather than having this like middle portion where they're walking through the abyss and it's just like, all right, we're talking to each other like it's an average day.
Yeah, and it would have been more I don't even know what the word for it was, but they kind of emphasized the like Steve and Jonathan hate each other in like the first episode, and then it kind of like fell off a little bit as the episodes went on, and then they were like, let's bring it back.
Yeah, we have to resolve this now. Yeah,
it was still there, but not as much, and I think it would have been more of it would have put more emphasis on it if they resolved it sooner.
Yeah, like in volume 1 probably, where it's just like, because the Duffer Brothers mentioned that they wrote the season knowing it was going to be in 3 parts, and there's like things in this season that make that clear as day. And one of
Yeah.
them is, and I mentioned this in the last video, but I think I cut it out because it just wasn't really relevant. But like one of the things that is like a big indicator of that is in like the first 4 episodes. Episode 1, right? Steve, when Murray comes and gives them like the grenades and tells them about the crawl, he's like, "Oh, peanut butter bopper," and like Steve has this whole bit of like, "Oh, peanut butter bopper," and then like in episode 4 when they drive into the Upside Down, he's like, "Gates are like peanut butter boppers, right?" Past episode 4, peanut butter boppers are not mentioned again. Like that is like a mini
Yeah.
arc that Steve went through concerning
Yeah.
peanut butter boppers for the first 4 episodes. Like that is where I'm like, oh yeah, they wrote this with 4 episodes. Wrote this knowing it was going to be split into parts, and the first 4 was going to be volume 1. Like that is
Yeah.
where stuff like that came into play. But like I feel like they should have dealt with stuff like Steve and Jonathan having this tension, like, and resolving it around episode 4, and that would have given us an opportunity for like more interesting dynamics of like, okay, Steve and Jonathan are cool now, and we're halfway through the season, and like they could have had like a cool duo between them for the last half of the season. But at the same time, like you might have lost a moment that's like because like where Jonathan catches him, I love that moment, and it's like, oh yeah, cool, he saved him. But like I don't know, I just feel like in certain ways we could have gotten a lot further than we did previously in the season, because like when you look back on the season, it kind of feels like not a whole lot happened and they were saving everything for the finale, which like is weird because they did so much happen in the finale, yet there's like more and less loose ends than I was like expecting. But regardless, this finale, it's all about killing Vecna. They got to kill Vecna and kill the Upside Down, and their plan is basically to just like blow up the exotic matter that will then destroy the Upside Down for good, and the Abyss and whatever. And I want to get some of my positives out of the way before because we like we have been, because like there are a bunch of negatives to talk about, but like there are some, like I said, there are high highs in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that like Jamie Campbell Bower, like the stuff with Henry and Vecna, I felt that he was great. I thought that like the stuff that they gave him was really cool, and like he was probably one of the strongest actors in the season. Like, like whenever they
Yeah.
give like this half backstory on him, I thought that like it was cool and they explained it well, although I feel like there could have been more explanation. But spinoff, am I right? But
Yeah.
but
Spin-off.
Hopper, the stuff with
Hopefully they
Hopper
can
and
bring it back.
Hopper and 11, like the speech where he tells her like you've had so much taken away from you, like it was a great moment from Hopper, the moment where Vecna shows him his daughter, like that, and like he shoots the tank, like that was crazy. Like it had like moments like that where I was like, oh, this is interesting, where like Vecna shows up and like he starts shooting, he shoots the tank, he thinks he killed 11, but it turns out he didn't, like like stuff like that where I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And like like it had strong moments in it, like 11 showing up in the lab and just killing all the military guys and making that one guy shoot himself in the face, like that was cool. Like they had like crowd pleasing moments, right, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I felt that like, okay, what bothers me is that like the final fight to kill Vecna, I feel like a thing that people are forgetting is that like part of the final fight is the mindscape aspect of it. Like whenever 11 like takes Henry from the table, that's like 20 minutes into the episode, and that's part of the final fight. But at the same time, it's like whenever the giant mind flayer like wakes up and starts moving, that
That
lasts
feels
like
like the final fight.
that feels like the final fight, even though like it's just part of it. But it just
Yeah.
feels like it that happens so quickly. And like it's one of those things where like I'm not one to be like, oh, nobody died, therefore it's bad. But like it's one of those things where I'm like, this situation is so insane that it's absolutely baffling that everybody got out unscathed. Like
Yeah.
Dustin says whenever they're like heading back that like he's like, oh, the party took quite the beating, and it's like, no, you didn't. Like
You
nobody
didn't.
got
Dustin,
hurt.
you got more hurt from the fight in the
The
graveyard
bullies, yeah,
than you did from this battle.
from this
You are
giant
not a
kaiju
single
monster.
scratch on you, bro.
Yeah, like it's
I know you
interesting.
almost died from getting stepped on, but like
You didn't.
did you though?
But did you really?
But did you though?
I just felt like this final battle could have used like 10 more minutes, or like a sign of like a struggle or something like that. But also another thing is that like when they're in the okay, let me get more positives out of them.
Oh no, continue.
Well, no, like I have these
Let's
things
keep this.
that I wanna talk about, but I wanna like
Yeah,
get the positives out of the way just so we're not like it's like I did
yeah,
enjoy this episode. Okay, here's the thing. People are quick to say that it's bad. I feel like
yeah,
I don't think it was even bad. I just feel like it was super safe. And like it
yeah.
was like very safe, which to me is like a double-edged sword because on one end, they didn't try to do something for the sake of shock and then like except for one thing towards the end, but like they didn't try to like shock the audience and then totally backfire on them, like
Hmm.
which makes it kind of like, oh well, like everybody made it out and whatever. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, it could have been a lot worse, which makes it good, but in a way also makes it just kind of like feel not as like bold as it could have been. It's what's weird about the episode is that like, okay, so the characters are enacting their plan. They need to get into the abyss through the radio tower, which I thought was a cool concept.
Hmm.
Climbing the radio tower to get through the rift to the abyss, I thought was a lot of fun. And like the first thing I want to say about this is that this isn't even what I was going to say, but I'm scrolling past this. This moment between Mike and Will is really funny because like Will's like it's so weird because like the writing in this season, there's so much of it that feels so on the nose. Where like Will's like, I think it needed to happen the exact way it did, and it's kind of funny because it feels like the Duffer Brothers like, no, you all might disagree, but Will thinks it had to happen exactly
It
like that.
had to happen. Just
And then
yeah.
Mike like Will's like, do you think we could be friends? And then he's like, friends? No thanks. Best friends. And I was like, yo, Will for a second was like,
He's like,
like he's just rage baiting him.
But what matters is that you're still here, and you still think we can be friends.
Friends? No thanks.
The climbing of the radio tower, and 11 has to, she's in Henry's memories with Max and Collie, and they gotta get him out of the trance with the 12 kids so they can just stop him from merging the dimensions. And Steve almost dies. Jonathan catches him, and it's cool. And then at this point, I'm scrolling through. It's about like 20 minutes into the episode, 22 minutes. The characters are in the abyss, and here is where like when I was watching it, and we kind of talked about this for a second, but when I was watching it, I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Is that like, first of all, it's the most insane that Stranger Things has ever been because like I both like am down with like the big scale epic stuff, but at the same time, what drew me and a lot of people to the show was just like the tightly knit small town mystery. And this is just like absolutely insane that they're like in Jupiter or wherever. Like it's so like Stranger Things I don't think ever needed to get this big, but
nah.
regardless it's like it's whatever. But also one thing that was kind of shocking to me is the fact that like that there's no demogorgons. There's no demo
Yeah.
creatures at all. And like the
Yeah.
last half of the season, I think the last time we see a demo anything is in the hospital when Mrs. Wheeler blows them up. This is their dimension. This is where they are from. And it's like there's no anything. And the Duffer Brothers, I'm sure everybody knows this, but they're doing a bunch of like post finale interviews and they're making everything worse because like they're giving answers that are just making people go, wait, but what about this?
Hey, but what about this? I don't know. We didn't write that far.
I'm gonna try to find the oh, okay, here it is. So this is their home dimension. There's no demogorgons in sight. Matt Duffer, I believe, said mainly it's just that Vecna was not expecting this sneak attack on his home turf. Never in a million years could he ever imagine that. They're there somewhere. That's what he said. They're there somewhere. I don't know. I feel like what would have helped make this finale like a little bit more epic and feel like there was more of a final fight is if they had demogorgons, demodogs, bats. Even the bats were totally absent from this season. They just killed Eddie and disappeared. Like that was
Yeah.
it. They completely vanished from the show. I feel like what would have been a really cool sequence is like everybody is in the abyss, but if say like they had some people in the upside down, some people in the abyss, like they're climbing the radio tower and they have to like shoot down bats and like kill bats, you know, like that could have been a really cool sequence. Like, oh no, the Demogorgons are climbing up the tower, turn on the voltage, you know, like that would have been really cool. But you know, like they just are absent from this finale, which just kind of again played into making everything feel super easy. But you know, regardless, I feel like the final battle was just it was very functional, you know, like it like
yeah.
Everything that happened needed to happen, and it was cool, you know, like 11 fighting Vecna, it was cool. They had like their one-on-one thing, but like it just felt extremely easy. And like it's one of those things also, now that I'm thinking about it, with there being more Demogorgons and stuff, I feel like they could have done way more with like 11's training montage in the beginning of the season, because like she was blowing up pumpkins, insinuating that she was going to be blowing up people's heads. Imagine if she was like running through like the fields and she was like blowing up Demogorgon heads. Like that would have been awesome. Like but the Duffer Brothers were like, oh, they're around there somewhere, which just makes it kind of feel like, oh, we didn't know what to do. So, you know, all the plans are kind of like going full speed ahead. The kids are trying to get out of the Camazotz through the cave where, you know, Henry and the briefcase thing, and the briefcase, there's like a mind flayer rock that like infused the mind flayer into Henry. I will say I really did like this moment, because I one of my biggest concerns for this season was that they were going to try to give Vecna a redemption. And I loved that you know, Will was like, you were just like me. He controlled you. And he was like, no, I could have resisted. I didn't. Like, this is both of us. Like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, you're right, I'll fight against it now. Like, I was really happy with that. And you know, the we are one moment, like I thought that was great. Like that they just let Vecna be evil to the end, but they gave him that, like, they showed like, yeah, he was just a scared kid, you know, like they showed that, but they let him be evil. I really liked that, just because like I was really concerned that they were going to try to make it like, oh no, Vecna's good, he has some good in him, even after like killing his family and killing everybody, you know, like it's just, I'm glad that they stuck to their guns on him being evil.
We are one.
The more I'm scrolling through this episode and I'm seeing the Camazotz stuff, I'm just going to say it, now that the season's over, I really did not care, in retrospect, did not care for the Holly and Camazotz thing. I feel like that was like, that was such a misstep. Having Holly Wheeler, the most background nothing character, get more screen time than a lot of our central characters was so dumb. And I don't know what they were thinking with that. But what bothers me is that like the Duffer Brothers said like, we wanted to include Holly in this because we wanted to bring back the magic of season 1 with the kids and feeling whimsical. It's like, first of all, there was no magic of it at all. And in season 4, they kind of, in my opinion, they kind of brought back the whimsical feeling in season 4 with the older teens and with the main cast. Like they had the capacity to do that, and they should have just had it been focused on their central cast. But also with them doing
before you continue, season 1 whimsical?
Yeah.
Whimsical? Besides the lights and like,
well, season 1 had like childhood wonder to it a little bit more, like, this scary monster in the unknown dimension. Like it felt very E.T. It felt very Spielberg.
It doesn't really feel whimsical to me. You know, it feels more like something different.
At its core, I wouldn't say it's whimsical, but it had more of like a whimsy to it. Especially, it's like, there's this girl with powers. She has magic powers. You know, like that's what it felt like to me. Yeah, but like Holly and Camazotz, like getting so much, because like it isn't even like a Will situation. Like when Will was taken, he was barely in season 1. When Holly's taken, she's like a central figure of the season, and it just like, I honestly, throughout the season, I didn't really care about her character. I was kind of waiting for like the big thing to happen for me to go like, yeah, like I care about Holly. I thought the actress did good. I thought that she was good in the role and with what she was given. And like same with Derek even. Like I thought Derek was fun and like he was a fun addition, but like it wasn't like an Eddie situation where I was like, yeah, this new addition is awesome. Like he's part of the team. Like, you know, it just felt like an add-on that wasn't really needed. And I just like, again, this is why I feel like they should have like killed Max in season 4, because like they had this basically like whole other shows worth of like material and Camazotz with a character that like we're just supposed to care about now, like it just it just kind of felt like a misstep. And honestly, I feel like I was gonna say they could have done the whole Camazotz thing with just Max, but Max like needed somebody to talk to. Like she couldn't have just like done it on her own, I guess. But I don't know.
They could have done an infinite amount of things without having to utilize this character that we do not care about, and they try to make us care about Holly throughout the season, and it's like, okay, and she was a baby up until season 4.
But also like even in season 5 we still don't know anything about her as a character. We don't know what she like likes, what she's like, what her character like. She doesn't even like, it isn't even like an Erica situation where it's like, she likes D&D. Like we don't know anything about her as a character starting out other than the fact that she's just Mike and Nancy's little sister. Like there's no like characterization there. And the thing is like with Will in season 1, it's a very similar deal where like we didn't know anything about Will, but even then, like in the small like opening scene of season 1 where like I'm not gonna act like they gave Will all the characterization in the world, but like in season 1 we get a little bit, like he's shown to like when he is up against the Demogorgon, he's like, what do I do? They're like, fireball, cast protection. He doesn't know, and then like he rolls a 7. Lucas is like, don't tell Mike, and then he tells Mike, he's like, I rolled a 7 and the Demogorgon got me, so you kind of get a little bit of like, he's a good kid, like, which makes it like more of like a punch when he's taken. Because it's like, and even still, like whenever he gets taken, he runs, he locks the door, he calls the cops, he loads the gun. So we're kind of like, he's a good kid who also seems to be pretty capable. And then on top of that, throughout the season, we get little bits and pieces of Will as a character information. We get like, flashbacks to him and Joyce where he's like, interacting with her, and we get a like more of their bond, like as mother and son, and like, the characters are talking about him. But with Holly, like we don't really know anything about her character, but that's besides the point.
And another thing, before you continue on, another thing that I think they show a lot more in season 1 that the kids care about Will. They go out looking for him Insta, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's all this trauma and they don't really care anymore. But Holly was taken and they're like, I mean, oh well, I guess.
Yeah, whenever
they just continue on,
Yeah, whenever 11, it's the second episode where she goes to the gate and Nancy's like, go find her. 11 just like walks through the gate. There's no like, I gotta run. She just like power walks through the gate. But like even still, like Mike is like, whatever. Like Mike had more emotion putting up his D&D book at the end than anything in the season. But like Holly being like a big character that got more screen time than like Joyce and Hopper, like it was insane. And it's one of those things where it's like it's like a top rule, like a high school, like when you write an essay, you don't introduce new concepts in your final paragraph. and that's kind of how it felt to me. But like again, I thought the actress did a good job. I could engage in the story, but I was just like, I don't really care about her character because they're trying to give her this arc where it's like, I'm so scared. No, you're Holly the heroic. And it's like, I really don't care. And which is kind of sad because like, I don't remember ever feeling like I don't care about like a lot of things in Stranger Things beforehand. There's some, but like, I don't know. I just felt like it was a weird misstep. But on top of that, the fact that like on top of Holly and on top of Derek and whatever, we have like 10 other kids there that they got to get out. It's like people always say like there's so many characters in Stranger Things. The Duffer Brothers like, okay, what if we added 12 more kids? Like 12 that don't really add anything to the grand scheme of things. And also like, the Duffer Brothers even said like there was no real significance to Vecna taking 12 kids specifically. So it's like, then why were there 12 kids? Could he had not just like taken Holly as like a way to like, I don't know, get everybody else? Holly and Camazotz, I just didn't really care for, especially in retrospect, that like it just took up so much time and it just kind of, I felt like that was unneeded.
It's funny because you bringing it up makes me realize how much I just forgot that side of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's really like there's not much that they really even do. It's just like, oh, Vecna's bad. What?
Yeah,
but
then they have to have this whole side of them like
No.
explaining to them that Vecna's bad, and it's like, okay, They have to have proof, which just puts themselves in more danger that they're like in the other room and Vecna's like, I'm evil. And they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But okay, so the kids got it to get out of Camazotz, and that's fine or whatever. And the plan starts to go awry because the military shows up and starts shooting the sonic beams at 11 and Kali. I will say, like, all the stuff with Vecna, I feel like worked for me. I really did I like how he tricked Hopper into shooting the thing to as like his way of like, I got to get 11 out of this tank.
Yeah.
Like that. I liked that. I liked pretty much all the stuff with Vecna this season. I thought that was really cool. Him showing him his daughter, like it's such a low blow, but it's like, oh, like there were,
Yeah.
it had the episode, we're talking negative. The episode did have really strong moments. Like I liked that 11, she's out of that. And then she kills like all the military guys, and Callie gets like shot, and she's like, my story ends here. It was always going to end here. And
It's like, I mean, I was gonna stay in the wormhole and die anyways. So
hey,
Whatever.
I'm not complaining. She's like, I'm fine. They're kind of in this spot where like the plan is going askew, and then 11's like, I can jump from the rocks into the abyss, and she has this really nice conversation with Hopper where she's like, you became my dad, and like, but I'm not Sarah. She didn't have a choice. I had a choice, or I have a choice. And she gives him back the bracelet that Sarah had, and it's like, like. Amongst all the stuff that kind of didn't work, the episode does have strong character moments like this. Like I did like the character moments between like Jonathan and Steve and Hopper and 11, even though like I feel like moments like this, more so Jonathan and Steve could have come earlier in the season. I did still like this episode, or the moments in this episode.
I still don't like you though.
Oh, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Then the mind flayer kind of comes to life and starts chasing these characters around. And it was at this point where I was like, this is so far beyond what we started out as, but whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
I literally just had to give in. I was like, whatever, like, this is like insane, but whatever. 11, like standing in this giant canyon, looking at this thing and jumping into it. First of all, I love how Lucas like puts his hands on his head, like, oh, he's like,
yeah,
oh,
the
shoot.
reaction,
it felt like kind of underwhelming for what was happening. He's like, oh shoot.
Oh my gosh.
Funny.
Lucas, can you look surprised for us?
The Duffer Brothers call him Lucas.
Oh shoot.
The Duffer Brothers call him Lucas. Hey Lucas.
He's like, Lucas.
Lucas.
What?
What? Could you 11's jumping in the thing? Could you you're shocked. Got you.
Lucas is supposed to be like
the script says Lucas is shocked.
No, cut to Lucas shocked. You need to be shocked.
That's the subtext.
Like, oh shoot.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And
no
cut.
way.
That's a wrap on Caleb McLaughlin for Stranger Things 5.
Oh my god.
The visual went crazy, I will say. It was like, I was like, that was where I was like, all right, whatever, sure. I was like, this is insane, but it looks awesome. And the visual effects looked good. I was like, this thing is insane, but it looks great. 11 jumps into it and fights Vecna. The plan itself was cool. Could have used like 10 more minutes or something just to show any signs of struggle versus like we won, we did it. But like everybody kind of got a moment in this episode, and I thought like, it was cool. It was fun. Like 11 like about to impale Vecna, and then like he sticks his stretchy arm at her, and then we go like out of we see Vecna's POV that then comes out of Will's eye, and it's like like really cool stuff in the final battle, regardless of like how it actually went down. And 11 gets Vecna, like she impales him on one of the spikes. Then it's like, okay, we did it. They free the kids. The one thing that I will say is that, and this happened in episode 7, but also happens in this episode, is that like when they free the kids, it happens for the first time whenever Holly wakes up and she gets out of the thing. Whenever she gets out, she just coughs a couple times, and the mind flayer just leaves her. It took we had to burn the freak out of Will for it to get out of him, but they're just like, and it's just gone. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, what was the deal with that? It literally doesn't matter. That's like what a lot of these things chalk down to. It's just like, well, it doesn't matter, so why are you talking about it? But anyways, they free all the kids. We get a little heartfelt moment here. I think one moment that was like weirdly heartfelt and kind of got me like, oh, that's nice, unexpectedly, is where Derek like hugs Steve. and Steve was like, it's okay, buddy, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. I was like, that's
Aw.
sweet.
That's nice.
I was like, that's
Too
really
bad
nice.
The rest of the episode is.
Too bad the rest of the wow, this episode turned you into a Stranger Things hater. That's crazy.
No, it's not that bad.
You're safe, bud, okay? We're here to get you home. Yeah. Oh, I got you, bud. I got you, bud. It's okay.
You know, they free the kids, and then Vecna's like, I'm still alive, you know. And I will say, the death of Vecna, the fact that Joyce got to do the final blow, I thought that was great. I think that the actual death of Vecna was handled well. I think that the path to getting there was like too easy a little bit, and it like kind of, you know, it kind of just happened in a way that it felt like, okay, we're going through the motions, big action scene, boom, Vecna's dead. But like Joyce dropping like the one, or not, there's another F-bomb in the show, but like the most prominent F-bomb of the show, I thought was great. I thought it was earned, and she decapitates him, and like I thought the moment where she's like chopping his head off, and like we get all the flashbacks to the damage that Vecna's caused. I thought that was great. I don't know how you feel about that. I thought that was handled really well.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually, you know, I had a funny thought just now. Do you think that they made Vecna like basically made him mutate so much so they could actually like decapitate him without being like, yo, this is kind of graphic.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. Because
with Vecna, it's like, okay, he's like made out of vines, like he's the evil guy. But if he was like still like Henry form,
oh yeah, this would be insane.
This would be like, wow, Joyce.
Whoa, you're just decapitating a human being.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I get you're mad. But
I mean, valid, but
you could just do that. You could just like, you have guns.
Yeah, you could do this in a quicker way, but
know?
I guess it's just to be like, yeah, he's dead for real. But you know, I love that she got the final blow, because like, you know, like the show started out like
fitting.
It was fitting, and I felt like that moment was earned, because like the show started out like as like, if anything, like the kids got so much hype in season 1, rightfully so, but like it, like Joyce felt like more of a main character than a lot of characters in season 1. You know, it was kind of Winona Ryder's show starting out. Literally, she in the opening credits, she's the first name to pop up in every single episode. Like it was Winona Ryder's show starting out, and I love that they gave her this moment. Like this, like it's moments like this that like bump the episode up for me, where I was like, this is great. I like this, because you know, like I was like, yeah, like we're getting all the like I said, the flashbacks to all the damage he's caused, and like you know, it's a moment where it's like the show is ending, like I'm getting teary-eyed watching it, like all the pain, all the struggling, like it's like that was great. I was like, you know, like flashback, Nancy has flashbacks to Barb, Dustin has flashbacks to Eddie, you know, like it's so, I love that.
You fucked with the wrong family. Mom, you're killing him!
I didn't run away this time.
It's so funny because everybody gets a flashback, but Steve and Robin are just like, they don't have anything. Like, yeah, we didn't really deal with Vecna that much. We got, you know, we were lucky, but it would have been kind of funny if it just cut to them in like the Russian base, just completely unrelated from Vecna. It's like, Steve with like the truth serum. I will say though, and the Duffer Brothers have some like pseudo explanation for this, but like, why wasn't Will feeling anything whenever she was decapitating him? I think that in the Duffer Brothers explanation for this, which by the way, one of them said like, oh, I don't know why, like cut us slack. I was getting over the flu whenever we did the post finale interviews, cut me slack. But like, you know, I feel like you should have had your ducks in a row, and like versus just saying anything. But I think what would have been a really cool moment, because like they could have played this two ways. One, they could have played it to where like Will actually dies, which I feel like they shouldn't have done, but like they could have played it to where it's like they had like Will had to sacrifice himself, but I don't think that would have been
a good insane.
That would have been insane, but I don't think that would have been fully earned. But like I feel like what would have been a cool moment is if they could have, I would have even accepted slight retconning here, because they say in season 2, like, if they close the gate with the mind flayer inside of Will, he'll just die. But like, I would have accepted retconning of like they were wrong about that, but I think it would have been so awesome if like, and just like much more of like a, we have to do this, if like Joyce hits him and Will like screams like he's like writhing in pain, because like whenever Henry is in his memory and he gets shot in the hand, present day 1987 Henry feels that, and so does Will. And the mind flayers say that like the mind flayer, the Duffer Brothers say, the mind flayers said, the Duffer Brothers said whenever, because the mind flayer was like killed, that is what like severed the link of the hive mind, which doesn't really work for me. But I feel like what should have happened is Joyce starts hacking away and Will is like screaming, but they have to do it because like whenever they, in season 2, whenever they're burning the tunnels, he's like freaking out, but then they're like, check for burns, and there's nothing there. So it's like a mental thing, right? Like he's not, I would have accepted retconning to where it's like he wouldn't actually die, but he's feeling it. And like, it's the word, he's like screaming, he's on the floor screaming, and then like they cut off the head, and then there's a moment where like he takes a breath and it's like, it's over. Like the link is like gone. Like he doesn't feel it anymore, which by the way, I feel like they should have done, because like what happens after they cut off Vecna's head is there's a pause, and then it closes. There's a close up on 11, and then she's like, and it's like cut to black. I feel like that should have been Will, right? Because it's like the Vecna's dead. Theoretically, he shouldn't be feeling the hive mind anymore, and there should have been more of like a release from him, like I'm free, you know.
Yeah.
But 11, it works with 11 too. But
it works.
Works.
That's kind of this episode. It's
that's my review of this episode. It works. But anyways, so after this, we get this little portion where it's like we won, everybody's happy. We get the Prince songs. Everybody's driving back to the gate. And the military's here and they're gonna arrest everybody. Everybody's up against the truck. Honestly, they probably should have just killed them on sight. but they're like, we need 11. Dustin kind of looks at Mike and he's like, hey, where's Elle? Oh, she must have escaped. Cut over to the gate. 11 standing there, just menacingly. she's just standing there menacingly. 11 standing there and she's about to do it. She's gonna go with the upside down. Mike goes to chase her again. The fact that nobody got shot on sight is kind of insane, but whatever. Mike falls down. He's in the void. 11 and Mike have this last conversation between them where he's like, you can't do this. And she's like, I want you to thank everybody for being so nice to me. And you saw the real me and everything. And the first thing I want to say about this is, first of all, you and Timmy were like blowing up the group chat during this moment. And I get text notifications on my computer and it was just ding, ding, ding. Like as Mike's like crying. And I was like, guys, shut the freak up.
The real me.
Did Purple Rain in this moment take you out of the scene?
A little bit, yeah, actually, now that I think about it.
It's weird. Like it like oddly enough, it felt like the most 80s thing that the season did, honestly, because that is straight out of an 80s movie. Like the funny placed like contemporary music during an emotional moment. That felt so 80s, which is where I feel like it got away with it. But like it kind of took me out of the scene a little bit, because like I would much rather have like the synths in this moment. 11 and Mike's last moment, I feel like needed more like, like, like I feel like they needed more like score than Purple Rain. But regardless, they have this moment between them. 11 does I always knew that if 11 was going to die by the end of the series, it was going to be a callback to Goodbye, Mike. She says it, throws him out of the void. The upside down, the plan is that the record will reach a certain point that will then like trigger or, light the fuse that explodes the exotic matter, which explodes the upside down. That happens, which explodes the upside down, and 11 goes with it. And honestly, 11, okay. Okay, this ending with 11, I am so iffy on, because I feel like, and I've talked to you a little bit about this before we even get into like the epilogue aspect of it, just at the face value surface level, like 11 died. I feel like was a interesting choice because, like, I mentioned this to you. What bothers me about this is that Eleven's like sudden tendency of like, I have to die with this felt really sudden being introduced in the
Yeah,
last half of the season. It just felt so abrupt to me. I was like, but what bothers me about it is that 11 as a character, and I mentioned this to you, rarely comes to her own conclusions. Her breaking up with Mike in season 3 was literally because Max was projecting her annoyances about Mike onto 11, which then made 11 go, yeah, I should dump Mike. But she would not have come to that conclusion on her own, especially knowing that like Hopper like twisted Mike's arm basically into doing what he did. You know, like there's like that on like a smaller scale, and on a bigger scale, Kali's basically like, hey, we should die with the upside down. 11's like, okay, like that's it. Like I feel like 11 would not.
It tracks.
I guess, but like I feel like 11 just like dying at the end of this was such a weird choice because like first of all, Hopper gives her this whole speech of like, you lost so much, like I need you to fight for days beyond this. And 11's like, yeah. And then like, you know, her sacrifice just feels kind of like weirdly cruel because like what, the character who struggled so much and was abused and like needed the happy ending more than most characters in my opinion, like just dies at the end potentially. But also, well, okay, we'll get into it in a little bit, but like I am just so iffy on 11's death because like she doesn't like, because whenever she's talking to Kali about it, Kali's like, because Kali's right. She's like, listen, we're going to be hunted forever. Like this will not be over even after we kill Vecna, whatever. And 11's just like, yeah, but we can just kill everybody. And Kali's like, no. But 11, which tells me like 11 would not have made this decision on her own. She literally was just told to do it and she did it, which kind of bothers me. And I feel like they should have like, I don't know, like made her lose her powers for good and just like and just live a normal life in hiding or something. I don't know. That's the caveat is that like, you know, she's always going to be on the run. She's always going to be hiding. Anyways, you know, 11 goes along with the upside down, and then we jump forward 18 months, and you know we're in this whole epilogue section, which I feel like the epilogue honestly was probably like the strongest part of the episode because it felt like it was more thought out than the final battle and everything, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
We get to see a little bit of where the characters end up. Steve is, you know, the coach of the baseball team for the kids, as well as the sex ed teacher, which I think is kind of funny. And the characters are graduating, and I feel like it was kind of interesting that like them graduating played a way bigger role than I thought it was going to, because I was like, oh, it didn't really feel like the show was building to them graduating high school, but I guess it makes sense with like the idea of like the end of childhood and on to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, actually, before we talk about this, I have one more thing that I do want to know your thoughts. So 11 goes with the upside down. Big sacrifice moment. It's like, okay, she's gone, maybe. 18 months, the military's just gone. Like Dr. K, gone. Like Dr. K,
they just packed it up and they were like,
they left. They just left.
Failed mission.
Mission. Not that they needed the biggest closure, but they got nothing. They were just like, okay, all these characters should have literally been arrested, and it's just like, okay, we're just done. They're done.
The only thing I can say about it is it was super convenient, and it was like, okay, well, we're at the end of the show at this point, so we got to get rid of the military somehow, and let's just choose not to say why they left instead of like
Robin just saying like, oh, they left.
They left because, well, now we've opened a whole can of worms, and now we can go for another episode.
Yeah, so they just left. Yeah.
So they were just like, okay, movie magic. The military leaves because
11's gone, so they don't need anything anymore.
All their experiments are gone, so
yeah,
might
and
as
also
well pack it up and go home. To where?
Who knows?
The government. I don't know, man.
Which both bothers me and not, because on one hand I'm like, well, the military subplot this season was already kind of weak, so like I'm not like fuming over the fact that it didn't get any strong closure, but at the same time, like again, Nancy like murdering all these people and like them going against the US government and just facing no consequences is kind of insane, that these kids are even allowed to like graduate high school and they're not considered like terrorists or something. Like
yeah,
I mean they're in the right. It's the fate of the world. Like we as the audience understand, but still.
Yeah, no, I feel like they'd be at least put in prison for the rest of their lives, basically. You know, if it was real.
If it was realistic.
But because movie logic.
If this show was peak, then they would have been arrested.
If this show was peak, yeah. I feel like bringing the military into anything just opens up too many logistics. Because then it's like, okay, these kids are trying to get to the Upside Down, so they're fighting the military. Okay, now you're opposing the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So now you're basically, I don't even know, what do you call that? Fugitives?
Yeah, fugitives. They've been fugitives since day one.
Enemies of the state.
They are enemies of the state. Like, yeah, which is just insane.
They're fighting the same guys, kind of, but like military doesn't know that.
But you know what could have fixed this, and it honestly woun't have made sense, but I would have taken it, is if they brought back Dr. Owens. Where was Dr. Owens this season? Is he dead? Like, what happened to him?
Me personally, I think
it would make sense for him to be dead because they probably just killed him.
Their insinuation was that he was dead.
Well, they didn't insinuate anything. They didn't say a word. If they brought him back for the epilogue, what could have saved it for me? It wouldn't have made sense. But if he was like, "Oh yeah, like I talked to some people and like you guys are all good," you know, like that would have been like, okay. I would have been like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, because like it's one of those things where like in season 2, whenever he gets 11's birth certificate that says Jane Hopper, Hopper's like, how'd you do that? And he's like, oh, I surprise myself sometimes. So like he should have been there. But also what bothers me about Dr. Owens not being here is that like he is literally like one of few characters that let 11 make her own decision. Literally in season 4, he brings up the Nina Project. He's like, if you don't want to do this, say the word. We'll take you back. You know, and whenever she's actually doing the thing, and 11's like, I need to go save my friends. He's like, and Brenner's like, no, you have to stay. He's like, let her decide. And then, you know, like, if you want to go, I'll get you back there by nightfall. You know, like I feel like was absolutely needed this season. Doctor. Yeah, exactly. And like, I feel like he would have like, he's a character that they could have brought back and like, he could have played a good role in the season. But also I feel like with like the whole military thing, I feel like what this season should have done, but I guess it kind of goes against what they've been doing for the whole show, is like, in my opinion, it would have been super cool and just like saved us like the nitty gritty at the end. If like when the final battle is about to go down, right, something happens and like the main gang makes a truce with the military, and if like let's say the Duffer Brothers decided to include the Dema creatures in the finale, then you could have had like the military fighting the Demobats, the Demodogs, the Demogorgons, while the main gang is in the abyss. And like you could have had like a cool battle in like the right side up, the upside down, and in the abyss. You know, like I feel like we could have had like a really cool moment where like they team up with the military for once, and it's like, listen, there's a greater evil than this. Like I feel like that they should have done something like that, but regardless, it's just kind of left to be like something that feels very just resolved but unresolved, because like what happened, I don't know, they just left, they got bored and left. They're like, well, she's dead anyways. And also all the pregnant women just died in the Upside Down. Written and directed by
the major reason I would almost never see that happening, like them teaming up with the military, is because they kind of do have different goals. Because like the military just wants to get Henry back and experiment on him.
Well, no, they want 11. I don't even think Dr. K cares about Henry. She just wants 11.
Well, wasn't the whole thing that they
Brenner was doing
11?
That.
Fine, 11 too. But wasn't the whole thing that they wanted the blood so that they could
make more numbers? Yeah,
make more numbers.
But they wanted 11's blood. Unless if I'm forgetting something, I don't think they even were considering Vecna.
Well, still, I feel like if they had the chance, they'd be like, nah, we got to get him and 11, and then we can make double the numbers, you know, because they're greedy like that.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, I honestly feel like they could have cut that whole subplot out and just made it like they're trying to find 11, but then they realize that, like, we have a greater enemy here. Like, I feel like that would have just made it more of a satisfying payoff if, like, Dr. K, and again, if Dr. Owens was there, if they had this, listen, we gotta take him down and destroy all of this. Like, I don't know. I feel like that would have, like, made it more of a satisfying payoff versus, like, they're trying to find 11, she sacrifices herself, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But, you know, regardless, we're just kind of left with like this sort of unnecessary feeling military side plot that doesn't really go anywhere. And it's just, it literally was just providing a reason for 11 to die. Like that's it. which sure, but I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on it. But anyways, in this epilogue section, we get a little glimpse of where the characters ended up or are ending up, and they're graduating, and it's a big moment for everybody, and everybody's okay. Joyce gets a call from Mrs. Wheeler. She's like, I can't find Mike, and they're like, oh shoot. And Hopper knows where to go. He goes to the square where Mike is sitting in front of the library, and the epilogue had really strong stuff. Like the final battle stuff, I felt like was kind of rushed, and like it worked. It was what needed to happen, and it was by function, and it was fine. But like the epilogue stuff is like where I feel like their heart was at. They were like, this is where our heart is at. This is what we want to do. We get a really nice scene between Hopper and Mike where Mike is mourning 11, and he's like, Hopper's like, listen, like there's two paths you can go down. Like you could basically like go down this one path, like how the path that I went down when I lost my daughter, or you could just, do what 11 would have wanted and like, move past this. And like, I will say it was a nice moment of growth from Hopper, but like, it is a situation where like the whole season, he's like talking about he can't lose another daughter and he lost another daughter. And like, it's good that he like had a moment where he is going through it, but it's like, I don't know. It's like it seems kind of like he just moved on so fast of like, okay, you just got to deal with it. And it's like, all right. But regardless, I loved this scene between them. Again, considering that like, Mike and Hopper, I didn't really like what they did in season 3, and they had a small moment in season 4, and then in season 5 we get this really nice heartfelt scene between them where like we kind of guides Mike to like go to the graduation and like you deal with it in a healthy way. And I don't know, I really like this moment between them. Do you have any thoughts or whatever on this sort of epilogue graduation moment?
Basically everything you just said.
Okay. Moving on.
You kind of covered most of it.
Okay, so anyways, then we go to the graduation, and Dustin gives a really nice speech because he's valedictorian, my guy, my boy Dustin. He then goes from a very heartfelt graduation speech to screw the man, which was awesome. And then he does what Eddie said he was going to do. Takes off the dress shirt, reveals a Hellfire Live shirt, flips off the principal, takes the diploma, and gets out of there. Really great moment. I really love that moment.
This is our year!
It's really funny how Max managed to graduate high school.
Yeah.
There's no way she got those 2 language credits being in a
I don't know the logistics on how this happened, but
summer school.
She
earned those credits.
She crunch timed summer school and then also did the normal school year.
They all graduate, and then Stacy, which I was surprised that they brought back Stacy from season 2.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. When I saw her, I instantly recognized her. I was like, whoa, Stacy? Stacy before Susie in season 5 is insane, but you do you, Duffer Brothers.
It's crazy.
I will say, I mean, I feel like being upset over Susie not being there is kind of a low blow, because it's like, like sure, it was a long distance relationship and there were kids and whatever, but I feel like I would have really liked if like the camera whipped around and Susie was there. I don't know, I think that would have been a nice touch, but regardless, it's whatever. But Stacy invites them all to a party and they're all like, heck yeah. Mike's like, heck no, which it leads to the final scene of the show, which we'll get into in a little bit. But this leads into the older teens farewell scene, which I was kind of surprised that you weren't into this scene.
Don't get me wrong, I like the scene. It's just I think what didn't do it for me was the way they filmed it. For some reason, made me think of a podcast or like a talk show or something. I don't know. It was a weird vibe I got from the actual way they filmed it.
The cinematography of it.
And I mean, maybe a little bit of the dialogue, just how they were kind of talking as if like they were making a podcast about their lives or something. Like I thought it was a little podcasty, and that kind of made me like, it kind of threw me out of the scene a little bit. I was like, wait, what the heck? Are we having a podcast or something? Like, it makes sense above the
the radio station,
radio station, yeah. And I was like, are they actually doing this? But then it kind of got into it, and I was like, okay.
I disagree because I didn't get that vibe from the thing, but
no. Aside from that, it was great.
I love the scene. The only thing that I will say is that like this group didn't really exist that much, and they're having this like heartfelt okay, we get the tiniest bit of it in episode 1 where like they're all at the radio station trying to read the manual and figure out how to get the thing back on the thing, and it's like, okay, they're kind of a group now, but that's it. So like them having this like emotional send off together, when we're just left to assume that they kind of all bonded with each other off screen, is kind of like, okay, but it still worked for me. And I really did like, I loved the scene because it was like, it felt like listen, like we were both like really young when this show started, and like this moment where they're all like, once a month, let's all see each other, like, oh man, we got to see each other, like it felt really real. And like I really liked this moment between them where it felt like adults like just talking, like, you know, like about their teen years, and like it kind of hit home a little bit, where it was like, even me and you have like talked about, like with Timmy, who like if you're new here, Timmy makes videos with us, like, you know, we all live in different places, and we've had conversations like this, oh man, I wish we all lived closer together and stuff like that, you know, like it worked for like the emotions of it worked really well,
it's
and like
close to home.
It hits close to home, and like, you know, we mentioned where Steve's at, and like Jonathan's at NYU, and Nancy dropped out of Emerson, and Robin, I don't remember where Robin's at. I think they've mentioned she was at
station,
but I think she was in town for the graduation. But I think they mentioned that she was at some school. I can't remember. But Jonathan's making this like anti whatever film, which was kind of interesting. but I was kind of like, that feels kind of slightly out of left field, not out of character, because I could see Jonathan making something artsy like that. But I was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. But we get a little bit of hints of where everybody ended up, and like, I don't know, I did like this moment where it's like, once a month, let's all meet somewhere. Like they were talking about like, let's meet somewhere, but we kind of don't want it to be Hawkins, you know, like it was a nice goodbye to the characters. And again, it's kind of telling whenever like the epilogue with the emotional moments is where I'm like getting the most positive conversation out of, versus like the actual like supernatural aspect of it, because like I feel like
story
like the coming of age stuff, I felt like is what made this episode for me. I read somewhere that the Duffer Brothers said that like they never saw Joe Keery cry, but like he was crying in that scene and on set that day, and like you can see it, like it feels real.
Okay, Jesus. Killing me, man. Just do something about it.
I liked their send-off, despite the fact that, like, you know, the characters weren't really bonded that much in the season. I like the moment regardless. And, you know, after this, we get a little moment between Hopper and Joyce finally getting their date at Enzo's. And what do you think of the scene? Because I've talked about the past, like, half hour of scenes. What are your thoughts on the scene?
I think it's kind of funny that Hopper waited so long to be like 18 whole months.
18 months. That's so true. I didn't even think about that.
Why not wait another 6 months? I don't know. I liked it. I like the fact that they finally were like, it's at Enzo's, right?
Yeah,
I assume that's the location.
It is, yeah.
Did they get a date at Enzo's before this?
No. This is the one, because they talked about it in season 3.
This is the date at Enzo's. So I'm like, finally, the happy ending we were all waiting for, you know, the date at Enzo's, the instant proposal, but also 18 or what is 16? 18 months later.
Yeah. He waited so long.
Didn't have the date at Enzo's any sooner. I mean, I guess it
on graduation dinner, when they should be like, I don't know, having a nice graduation dinner with like Will. It's like, it's like, nah,
it's whatever.
This is our date.
They're hanging out playing D&D or something, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. Joyce is like, I don't know.
They're like, where's my boy?
Where's my boy? I don't care. Yeah, nice scene. I will say it was a nice nod where Hopper was like, I got a call. They're looking for a sheriff in Montauk, and do you know why that's significant?
No, I don't.
So this is a little fun thing that, again, whenever it happened, that's nice, is that Stranger Things was originally supposed to take place in Montauk, New York, and the title of the show originally was Montauk. Like, it was supposed to be set in like a beach town, because in Montauk, New York, there was like government conspiracies that were similar-ish to what like was happening in season 1 were actually happening in real life in Montauk, New York. And, you know, it's just a nice little nod to it. that Hopper's finally going to, or not finally going, but he's
Interesting.
going to like where the show was originally supposed to be. I thought that was a little
Yeah.
fun nod.
I didn't know anything about that. I didn't even know that it had a plan on it, or it had a different name in it.
Yeah. So that was a little fun nod, but
That's cool.
yeah. So they get their happy ending, and again, it's like we're getting out of Hawkins and moving to a quiet town closer to the kids. I assume. I mean, Jonathan obviously because he's at NYU, but like I don't know where Will's planning on going to school. Maybe also NYU. But anyways, Hopper and Joyce proposal seem very nice, and then we get the shot of the sprinkler shot. Throwback to season 1, episode 1.
Oh yeah.
And the final scene of Stranger Things is the kids playing D&D one last time. And this moment worked for me because it's just, which by the way, the Duffer Brothers have been saying for years, like we've known the final ending of Stranger Things for years, and that is the one thing that I can believe because it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's like them playing D&D,
Yeah.
them being like, oh, we knew the upside down was a wormhole. I'm like, yeah, right. but like, final scene of the show, them playing D&D again, like I could buy them having that mapped out, but playing D&D one last time. I loved how Max was actually into it. She was like raging at what was happening.
This game is bullshit.
I agree.
Stupid goddamn waste of time. Ah!
The campaign comes to an end, and we get a little bit of similar to season 1 foreshadowing where or not foreshadowing, but a little bit of like, oh, maybe this happened. We're like, they're up against the wall, and Will's like, that's it. And then Dustin's like, no, the mage, we could summon her. They do the thing, and then they win the campaign. They're kind of talking to each other like, where does everybody end up? Like, if you had to say where is everybody? And Mike, talks about their characters and where he thinks that they ended up, and it's obviously playing into like, where the characters are ending up. He says like Lucas and Max, they settle down in a small village and they fall in love more and more every day, and we get Lucas and Max's movie date finally. And like this is the moment where, like, again, with like the orchestral rendition of like the score from the show, where like it got me crying. I'm not gonna lie, like them, because again, it also just felt like Last Day on Set vibes where they're all crying and looking at each other. I was like, this feels real. Like this, like it felt authentic and real. It's so funny though, because like it's such like an end of the show thing, but in universe, it's like would they really be crying over this? like it's kind of funny, but I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Dustin goes to college and like pursuing knowledge, but still making time for adventures and stuff. And then you see Dustin and Steve possibly going on like some kind of road trip.
I thought that was nice.
That was nice.
Dynamic still lives.
That, and also like again the orchestral rendition of the song. I think the first "I Love You." This got me. Mike says that like Will the Wise goes to a place really different than the village where he spent his youth, where he finds his place and acceptance and everything. We got a little glimpse of Will and some epilogue boyfriend, nameless dude, but whatever. As for the storyteller, even though Mike was the paladin, but that's fine. Mike talks about like writing stories about his adventures, but he can't write about the real one. And like I don't know why, but like Mike being the storyteller in that shot of him like on the typewriter for some reason like really got me. I have no idea why. No idea. I could not tell you why that shot got me like, oh my gosh, Stranger Things, but like it just did.
One day, he hopes their tales of grand adventure will spread far and wide across the land, so all can know of their great bravery.
I think it's fitting that they end it with D&D, and I feel like they gave them all. I think they gave pretty fitting endings to the characters. I mean, Dustin going to college because he's a genius makes sense. Lucas and Max, I mean, they could expand it a little bit more.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the characters being kids, is just like, where do you end their things, their stories, other than like they go to college?
It's kind of like open-ended. I mean, they're gonna keep on living in small town USA, and Mike being a writer is kind of crazy. I guess it makes sense because he basically does all their campaigns. Did anybody ever?
No, I don't think
no.
so.
Will,
other than maybe
Will.
Will tried.
He tried, but
it wasn't as good as a
it
Mike
wasn't as good as
campaign.
Mike's. No.
Yeah, but I like that.
But yeah, I liked it too.
He became the Duffer brother.
He became the Duffer brother. The third
The
and
third
final
Duffer.
secret Duffer, brother.
The hidden Duffer.
It makes sense that they'd be sad because they're all kind of like splitting up and whatever.
Yeah,
but
it's the period after graduating high school where like
Yeah.
things are gonna change, and it's like, is this the last time we're
Yeah.
gonna have
So
moments like this?
yeah.
Which again is what worked for me so much more than like how the final battle went down. At least in my opinion, like this stuff is where I was like, like crying and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, like these characters.
As for the 11 ending,
Yeah, I guess we can segue into this.
I think
Yeah. What what do we think about 11's
I think
amazing
with
ending?
I don't even know what you call it. I guess you call it the hole they dug themselves into by
Yeah.
basically being like she died.
But she
Is-
lived.
But I mean, they didn't really show her specifically dying. She kind of just vanished,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Mike's trying to put some theories through, and I believe. I choose
You
to believe.
You think 11's alive?
No, well, I want to believe. I'm
But
like
there's no
Hero Boy
way.
in the Polar Express.
Yeah,
but, like,
yeah,
at the beginning
yeah.
of the movie, you know,
Yeah.
or
yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, which
Actually, at the end of the movie, because he wants to
Yeah,
believe,
he
but he
believes.
doesn't.
And then he believes by the end. Yeah.
I think she's dead, legit.
Me too. I kind of hope she's dead because like well, you keep going.
I think she's dead, legit. I hope she isn't, because that would be a nice ending, that she didn't just straight up die and that's the end of it, and she just, I don't know, somehow found her way to a different country and just lived out the rest of her days.
Got her passport.
Yeah. Maybe she
Like
just
she'd be able to get on a plane. I mean, airport
maybe she
security
just
in
flew
the
the
80s.
whole way.
Yeah, she jumped
Like,
from
with
island to
powers.
island with her super jump.
Yeah, walked on water or something crazy.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
I don't know. It, like, the whatever town she was going to that they showed in Mike's theory, it looks like a nice little small town. So I feel like it'd be believable enough that she could just like not be found there.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't really.
You don't believe?
I believe.
believe.
I believe.
believe.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I honestly, like, we talked about this a little bit, and our videos building up to season 5 and just like revisiting the show, that like the Duffer Brothers love their fake out deaths, and just the fact that they ended 11's story with like the in limbo of possibly doing another fake out death drives me insane. like that is insane that they did that. But like I feel like 11 is probably dead, and I feel like she should be, just because like there's no way she survived that, and like I don't know, like, but at the same time they almost went out of their way. Well, yeah,
There
but
is
like
a way.
the Kali
gave
blew
away.
up before 11 did, so like the illusion would have dropped a little while before 11 vanished. I feel like the timing of it, I
Blew
feel
up?
was yeah, because they blew up the exotic matter, which then like blew up Hawkins' lab, or like got it sucked out into the void and blew up. Yeah, like
maybe
she
it's
would have
got,
been
like a, I don't know, delay.
yeah, maybe
I don't know.
I don't
man.
know.
But
Yeah, well, that's the thing, we don't know. But like I feel like the thing that bothers me about 11's ending again is that like they almost went out of their way to give everybody a happy ending, and if anybody deserved a happy ending, it was characters like Will or 11, who like, I mean, all of them went through so much, but like 11 from birth was just like tortured and abused, and then like her ending is like either she's dead or she's just completely on her own. And that's like where I'm like, okay, her whole thing of like she doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere, but everybody's telling her, yes, we are your friends, we're your family, like it just feels kind of like cruel in a way to like give her this ending of like ambiguity. But also the Duffer Brothers are making everything worse by saying that like they said like, oh, only we and Millie Bobby Brown know 11's true ending, so like that means that there's a definitive answer, which means that it's not. Yes, they said that, which means that it's not ambiguous.
they said that after
the finale. Only
After the
us,
finale?
only us and Millie Bobby Brown know 11's true ending, which means that like there's an answer, which means that it's not
What?
ambiguous. Yes, they said that. And it's like, it's frustrating, but they said that like cut them some slack because I was getting over the flu, and it's like, all right, cool. But But honestly, to me,
Thank goodness we never have to watch another season from these guys.
no, you know what they're gonna do in like yeah, right. In 5
just
years'
kidding.
time, they're gonna do an El Camino and bring back 11 for some kind
my.
of story. That's what they're gonna do. I'm almost positive in 5 to 10 years they're gonna do an El Camino movie, and it's gonna be like 11 has one last thing. It's gonna be like a character based whatever, you know, like
Guess what? You're gonna watch it,
no, yeah, absolutely, I'll
and
watch
so
it.
am I. We're
Yeah.
we're gonna watch it.
But
like,
11,
come
I
on,
feel
bro.
like 11's ending was just weirdly misguided because they said like there was no version of the ending where 11 could be there with the gang around the D&D table because she represents childhood magic and she's gone and it's the end of childhood. And it's like, okay, so 11 all of a sudden is like a plot device symbol and not a character that you've been building up for 4 seasons, you know? I don't know. I feel like either way 11's ending is just kind of iffy. Like I'm split on it. In concept, her finally maybe being free is cool because it's like, yeah, she's free and like she is no longer tied to this. But I don't know. I'm just iffy on it. But you know, regardless, we get the shot of her seeing the waterfalls, and she settles down in a town she calls home, safe from danger.
In presumably Iceland, because that's
Yeah,
where it was.
because that's where they filmed. And then you know, Mike's like, "As I choose to believe this," and then they're all like, "I believe." Which, by the way, I just want to point out. I pointed this out to you in our very first season 5 theory video. Right? You brought up the idea. We were like, "What's the ending of Stranger Things gonna be?" Right? And you said that it's gonna be an ending where it's like, what if they do a Polar Express ending where it's like the bell still rings for me? And this ending literally had the characters saying "I believe" multiple times.
I win.
I believe.
I
They all
win
say
theory.
you win. You won. You cracked the ending, kinda. Like literally, that was such a crazy
Kind
pull.
of.
That is too close. Like all the characters literally said "I believe" in true Polar Express fashion, and like I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I literally can't believe it. That is amazing to me that you managed to do that. That's awesome, and I applaud you for that.
We should have
But
bet
also,
on it, and I
we really should have bet
made
on it.
$100.
But also, it makes me think like throughout the season 5 theory and discussion videos, I'm pretty sure we brought up the Polar Express a number of times. So the fact that it kind of like paid off in a way
Yeah.
is kind
The
of
Duffer
awesome.
Brothers watched our videos and were
Yeah,
like,
they're like, let's do it just for them.
like subtly, like they were like subtly influenced,
subtly and
like
subconsciously
in the
influenced.
in the subconscious. They were like,
yeah, in the mindscape,
Polar
in their
Express,
own Camazotz of sorts.
believe.
Yeah, I
Their
believe.
own Camazotz of sorts.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But you know, they all choose to believe that 11 is alive and well. Mike's mom comes down to the basement being like, the lasagna's getting cold. And you know, the characters all get up and they put their D&D books on the shelf, you know, kind of, you know, that's their final bow. That's it. You know, everybody puts their perfectly labeled and named D&D books like Max, Lucas, and
Yeah.
the orchestral but also synth rendition of Kids, the soundtrack from all the way back from season 1, got me crying. I was watching it like, oh my gosh, this is it. And you know, they all put their books up, and again, Mike, there was something about Finn Wolfhard when he actually got emotional in this show that actually got me feeling emotional. And I was like, if he had just had this for like appropriate reactions to like everything happening in the show, I would have been like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But he was just like, whatever, you know. But like he has a moment where like he's like standing at the shelf, he puts his book up, starts crying, and like again, that was like last day of the show. I was like, that's real. Like you could tell that like he was really like, this is it, you know. And he walks up the stairs. Holly and her friends come down to play D&D, you know, the next generation of Stranger Things, kind of, but not really, because the Upside Down's dead. And then Mike's kind of looking down at them. He smiles, closes the door to the basement. That's Stranger Things. And in terms of the general wrap up of the show, I'm okay with this ending. I was like, all right, this is nice. This is heartfelt. It's the passing of the torch almost. And it's, you know, Mike smiling because they're playing D&D, but there's no more danger. There's nothing to worry about. And that's it, you know? This ending, and by the way, you know, they had their stylized credit sequence with Heroes by David Bowie, the original version, which I said I predicted they would play, and I was so happy when they did. Like all these flashbacks to, or the artwork to the previous seasons, like, you know, it got me crying a little bit. I was like, man, this is it. This is over. I have nitpicks, but you know, I don't really know like what else I would have done if I was in their shoes, really. And it's a heartfelt ending. I don't know. I enjoyed it. What are your kind of closing thoughts on this?
Aside from whatever gripes I have about the rest of the episode, I think the epilogue was, I think it was good. It was fitting, and it was as solid of an end to the show. I'm sure there's probably like a few things that could have made it like top tier, like absolutely peak, but I think it was good, and I enjoyed it.
Generally
At
speaking,
the very least.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and like where I'm left is like it could have been so much worse, you know? Like but that's the thing why I kind of agree with people who aren't pleased with it, is that like when you're left with the final episode, like, well, it could have been worse. Like
it could have been worse. That it's almost like you're insinuating that it's bad, which it's not.
Yeah.
It's good. It just could have been better, I guess.
Yeah, and like the thing about it too is that I feel like a slightly better mapped out and just like textured final battle / like first hour and a half of this episode mixed with this epilogue would have been peak. Like it would have been 10 out of 10.
No,
because like the epilogue is great in my opinion, and I feel
Yeah.
like if they just had a little bit more texture, but also to the rest of the season as well, like if they had just taken some of the story beats that were in the finale and only the finale and given them to some of the earlier episodes and everything, like it would have been great. But the thing that kind of bums me out about the season is that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the season, but there was at no point where I was like, this is my favorite season, you know? Like, which kind of bummed me out, because when we were watching season 4, I was like, this is amazing. Like even with like for the first time, and like over the years, like there's things that I like less about season 4, but there's also things that I like way more about season 4. And maybe that'll be the case for season 5. Like in a year from now, I'll be like, oh, actually this thing's pretty good. But there was never really a moment where I felt like this was the best that the show could do. Like even on a smaller scale, like season 4 had moments like the shot of Dustin, Lucas, Max, and Erica biking that goes upside down to the teens biking, you know, like stuff like that. There was not, I don't think there was a single moment like that in season 5 where it's just like, this is literally just showing that the characters are going from point A to point B, but it's done so coolly that it's like a standout of the episode.
There's a lack of cool in this
but like
season.
That's kind of where I'm left with this season, to where like it's not my favorite season, but I'm okay with that, you know, like I'm perfectly fine with it just being like you know, just good, you know. But I do understand the general negative feeling that people have towards it, because it's like, you know, the wait is so long, and on top of that, the Duffer Brothers and like everybody hypes up the season in between the wait, saying it's the best thing that's ever been made ever. So whenever it comes out and it's good, it can feel like sort of like underwhelming in a way.
I think it's an overall positive season, I think.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it feel so, air quotes, bad, like what makes it feel so bad, even though it's not, is the fact that like season 4 was insane, and it's like, okay, how are they going to top this? And it was kind of like that for like pretty much every season. It was like season 1 was great. How are they going to top this? Season 2, maybe a little bit weaker, but it was still good. So they're like
a little bit weaker, but it was like Stranger Things 1.5. Like it had enough of the spirit of it to where it was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
It was like, oh shoot, okay, cool. 3, they expanded a whole bunch. It was like, holy cow, 3's crazy. How are they going to top this? 4, crazy. How did they top 3? And then 5, it's like it was good. I liked it. I really enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like this is absolute peak. How did they top season 4, you know?
Yeah, which I'm kind of like, I'm content with season 5, but it does kind of bum me out that like it wasn't like, even at its highest highs, it wasn't really like, this is my favorite season of the show the way that I felt season 4 was, you know? Overall, I'm content with season 5, And the thing is, like, I really don't know what else they could have done that would have topped season 4 and just been like the best season in the show. I mean, there's definitely some directions they could have taken it in, but
I could have come up with something.
well, like, what's an idea that like you think would have been like ultimately like this would have been better than everything we would have gotten?
I'm a dragon.
Well, yeah, we were almost touche.
Here's how I would have made the final battle.
Okay.
Everything's same, stays the same, whatever. Maybe change some things so it feels less disjointed. I feel like the vibe of Dimension X, are we just going to keep calling it Dimension X?
I mean, I've been calling it the Abyss.
The Abyss. The yellow dimension, right? Mexico. We'll call it Mexico.
Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. Netflix's Mexico.
I feel like Mexico needed to be not Mexico. I feel like it because the Upside Down was such a perfect, like, eerie. The vibe was perfect in the Upside Down. Mexico, I don't know.
Are we gonna stop calling it Dimension X? Let's call it Mexico.
Let's call it Mexico.
I love
that.
No,
I feel like the vibe was a little bit off. It needed to be more cloudy. It just seems like a sunny day in the desert in Mexico. Yeah. Right. It's a sunny day in Mexico.
Yeah. Other than the Mind Flayer thing being there, it didn't feel like we're in space. Other than the floating rocks, but we didn't really see much of that.
I guess maybe a little bit, but again, you really can't win because the more grand you go, the more it's like, okay, they're just trying to like Avengers Endgame went crazy.
Yeah, they're just trying to flex on us.
You know, you're just trying to like do too much CGI extra stuff. But I think it would have been cooler if instead of a stupid spider, they made it a dragon. And imagine this, right? They get into Mexico, cross the border. They cross the border into Mexico. Okay?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hear me out.
Yeah. Peak so far.
They crossed the border into Mexico. Apparently they were walking forever because I didn't even see the Mind Flayer cocoon thing.
No, yeah, it took a bit for them to find it.
So they must have been walking for miles. It's in the shot when they come through, like some kind of even if it's just that same stupid cocoon thing, or even just like a big egg, or like some kind of flesh castle.
Yeah,
like Mind Flayer or not Mind Flayer, like Demogorgon Castle, right? Imagine that. They walk all the way to it. They get to it. Say Vecna's like waiting at the door or something, right? The door of his like
Vecna's waiting at the door. Yeah, he's waiting.
Okay, maybe he's not waiting at the door. Say it's like a cathedral, like some huge cathedral-looking flesh thingy, right? With all the upside down
tendrils and vines and
everything, right? We get like 11 fighting Vecna in the castle, cathedral, whatever you want to call it. Cool looking building, gothic architecture and everything.
Yeah.
The 1v1 and then fighting off Demogorgon. Finally, 11 beats Vecna, right? You can even keep the same fight where she like impales him.
Him, yeah. Will steps in as well. Yeah.
Whatever. Something like that. And then when you think that they're gonna win, Vecna says some crazy line like, "It's time again." For the 50th time.
I love how you said some crazy line and then we're like, just pull out the classic. I'm like, it's time.
It's the classic. Something like they're not done yet.
It's not over. And then you hear,
it's not over. And then
the wings.
And then no. Say he just like gives up, kind of just dies and like melts into the floor, right? He melts into the floor of the cathedral.
Okay.
Type thing, right? Or like tendrils. It's a weird visual, okay? It's some crazy thing that they do with CGI, and maybe he turns into a bunch of tendrils and they scurry off somewhere. And then all the demodogs and stuff, they stop fighting. They run into I don't know, into the cathedral or something. The whole gang's like looking at it and they're like, "Yo, what's going on?
What's happening?"
From behind the castle, you just see two wings go. Woo. And it starts flying, and it starts going. It's like shadowy, Demogorgon-y. Clearly, the Mind Flayer. Maybe like they keep kind of the shadow like form that it had, so you can recognize it.
Yeah,
and like it's a giant Demodragon Mind Flayer dragon. That would be so D&D, and it would be so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't think the only thing is that they needed to have it be they kill both Vecna and the Mind Flayer at the same time, so it's just like, okay, they're both dead. Like, that's
Well,
the only
no.
thing. But also, if like the vines just
no.
scurried off, then it would have
No.
just been like, did Vecna really die?
Vecna's like the Demodogs or the Demogorgons or whatever, right? Demodogs, Demobats, Demogorgons, and Vecna, all the same thing. They become the Mind Flayer's like
Dragon
body,
final
like
form.
dragon form, yeah. So like the Mind Flayer's like kind of is the shadow monster thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, in the cathedral or something. That's like the heart of the, I don't know. The logistics on it aren't important, clearly,
But I feel like
because obviously major plot holes, and
I just feel like that would have overcomplicated things.
So now we don't want an epic ending fight.
No, it's like, I feel like they could have, like, realistically, it probably, even if it's like, okay, there's a dragon, it probably would have gone the same as it did with them fighting the Mind Flayer, except it flies. Like, that's what I feel like.
But it would be a 2-stage fight, though.
They kill Vecna, and then they get Vecna, and then they get the dragon. For me, honestly, all the final battle needed was just Demogorgons and Demo creatures giving the characters a little bit more of a challenge. Like, you could have gotten an extra like 5 minutes from that alone. But overall, I feel like I'm just at peace with the finale, even like with things that I don't really enjoy, like 11's ending. Like, I think I'm at an age where like the idea of just fuming over like something that didn't go my way just really makes me tired,
Yeah.
Even still, with things that didn't go my way, I'm just at peace with it. And like the finale, like I felt excited, I got emotional, and I had fun with it. And there's definitely more things that they could have done and whatever, but I feel like I'm just cool with it. That's Stranger Things, everybody.
Grieving a loss.
If you made it to the end of this video, we have one more Stranger Things video coming out, our own 9th episode of sorts. We're going to be watching season 5 and, having fun, making jokes, having a good time. Any closing thoughts? Closing out Stranger Things, closing the D&D book.
Sad because it's over. Maybe this last season didn't live up to everybody's expectations, but I think it was still good, and I enjoyed watching it. So it was worth it.
It's been fun over the past couple of years talking about this show and breaking down the trailers and everything. And now it's over. So that's that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Do you believe?
By the end of the series, 11's gonna die. I'm calling that right now.